Hello, everybody. This is the Kxo Radio Sports Department, and we had a chance, and we're excited to catch up with Mickey Dale. And Mickey plays an important role with KXO Radio. He is the primary voice and personality of the Imperial Tigers radio broadcast that we carry on KXO Radio. So welcome, Mickey. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Kurt. I'm glad to be on. It's my pleasure.
Well, it's, I've had not that long of an experience working with you, but it's always been a pleasure. And Mickey, you are an extremely talented broadcaster, and KXO Radio feels lucky to have you.
Well, thank you much. I appreciate those kind words, and I feel lucky to have a chance to do this on Friday nights with KXO. It's been an enjoyment for me.
Hey, Mickey, give us a breakdown of your background in broadcasting sports.
Oh, boy. Well, I go back to the first game that I started KXO in 1977, the fall after I graduated from high school. And while listening to the games that KXO would have of KFMBC KFPC back then, we did the Los Angeles Rams and the UCLA Bruins. So I would be plugging in during the game. In my mind, I'd be thinking, how would I describe things? And how would I do commercials? And I want to do it like they did because it sounded professional. So I asking at KXO, I'd love to try to do a football game. And in 1978, I think it was the last of the season, and IVC, I was doing IVC Arab. We did those back in those days with KXO. And went over to Kofa High School, where Arizona Western played their games, and playing against IVC. And I, like I said, I kept expressing to be able to do that sometime to see if I could do it any good or not. And the first half of the game, and then the microphone was turned over to me for the second half. I'm not expecting it. And IVC was not playing well that day. But I did okay because next football season, I was then allowed to be the voice of the IVC. And I did that in 79, 80, 81, and 82. And doing games for Brawley for KROP back then, doing Brawley Wildcat games. I also did some Spartan games. I was doing IVC games with KXO. And then went over to KROP over in Brawley and did the Brawley Wild for a few years. And also IVC basketball games as well with Fields and Steve Stadell back in the day. And then I went to television, and I was a sportscaster on the CBS affiliated KEC Channel 9 in El Centro, and I did that from, I believe, 87 to 93, and could not do the announcing of games because I was TV stuff, and then started working for the Highway Patrol as an emergency dispatcher in 93, and then I started doing Imperial games on Friday with my oldest Jonathan, and we started doing those games, I'm thinking somewhere in the vicinity of 1998 while he was in high school. He did real well. He was scared, but got into it, and we even had an article that was written in the San Diego Tribune about a father and son that would football games together on the radio, and the son was a .28 student on top of that. He ended up getting evaluated at Imperial High School. And then we did more games after that. And then he took off and went to seminary school. I'm a pastor, which he is back now. And I was brought back in 2013 to do Imperial games for P. And Snows in, no, it was more than 2010, I guess it was. I started doing them on KROP. And then when they changed businesses and did something different, then I was to go with KXO and continued on the internet. And so I've been nonstop doing Imperial games since 2010. And I've been trying to think of games I've done in football, and I'm coming up close to 300 games.
Wow. From
what I can up. So, but I've done all the from 2010, from halfway season 2010 up to now. And I have as much fun with it now than I did then. Still excited about doing football on Friday nights. Look at it.
Mickey, I've had a chance to listen to some of the old acetates that KXO was doing, broadcasting Central football games back in the 20s. And it's such a rich tradition that it's a luxury for us here in Imperial Valley. So you go back to KXO to 1977. Was that when Carol Buckley and Gene Brister were wearing bell-bottom pants and ties wide
I think
enough
they
to?
were right, and then all the flowered shirts and stuff they wore back with bells and stuff. So yeah, we all kind of wore those in those days, for better or worse.
Well, we might feel a little embarrassed about those days, but we all had a very good time.
Oh yeah, we did. One thing I want to point out too, you said that privilege for us down here really to do the games radio and on internet, because I don't believe there are any schools in San Diego that do that, and especially on the radio live. Now they might do podcast or games on the internet but I don't know of any that do that, because every time we go to do a game in San Diego, we get a lot of people, guys doing, and we tell them about it, and they get excited about it, but I don't think everything happens. So it's really a privilege to be able to do those games all over the place on the internet, and everybody seems to enjoy it and look forward to it. So it's a nice gig that we have.
Well, it takes a lot of people to understand. It takes an agreement. It takes an agreement with CIF. It takes agreement with the schools.
Right.
There's a lot of moving parts to this, and Carol Buckley handles a lot of that. And the reason we're not announcing that we're doing the next round of playoff games, even though we know they're coming, is we're waiting for CIF approval.
That's what I guess last Friday said we're going to be able to game, and then Imperial defeated Valley Center, which to beat them twice in one season is pretty unexpected. And so when Imperial thought, well, I don't want to end the season like this, at least end it with a championship win and a loss, but at least give us a chance to do it and bring it to people.
Well, the Imperial program is another program, both Central, Imperial, Brawley, and we could go on down the line. The Valley can be proud of all these schools. Southwest and Calexico are on the way up. Brawley's holding its own. Central and Imperial's always entertaining because we just don't know what they're going to do, and we enjoy the broadcast.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's kind of, you mentioned that, and I had a little flashback on Valley Center and on the Valley. But I think it was in 2004 the Brawley Invision Championship, CIF Championship against Valley Center, and it was, some people call it Qualcomm Stadium, but I'm really old-fashioned. I call it San Diego Stadium, which is no longer. But they played the game there, and while rivalries between Central and Brawley with the Bell game, and a rivalry in the old times with Holtville and Imperial, one of our schools in the Valley plays against San Diego schools, everybody comes together. And I went up to that game to watch, and I saw Letterman's jacket. It's for Valley. That was it on Brawley. Because it's like with our own brothers, we might argue them, but nobody else can argue with them, And it was kind of like that it was our Valley against Valley Center, and it was really like that.
Well, when I first moved here in the late 90s, it was like the Mason-Dixon lines and all this thing in Imperial Valley, which was more a fallacy by the time I got here, But people like to regurgitate that information, and this is a remarkable place where people can be very proud of what's accomplished, and right. I can't stress enough. There's so many moving parts to make this happen. And the station is happy to do it. It's a privilege to be able to broadcast these games.
It really is, and we have so many people that I put stuff on Facebook that the game's going to come to be on here, and you have all these people from all over the place, from Mississippi, Ohio, Idaho, that tune in every week to listen to us do the football game. It gives them a little bit of home. They remember what it was in those glory days in high school with the Tigers, and we just look forward to and really enjoy it.
And this Friday, I'll remind everybody that Carol Buckley and John Driffel will be going to La Jolla. Just a horrific place to have to go to a football game, and they're dreading that atmosphere of that stadium. But and they'll be on YouTube with pregame at 6:45, and Mickey and George will be handling the Imperial game. Now, that'll be on our back station, not on YouTube Friday night, but come Saturday morning, we'll pull it down and we'll reproduce it, and we'll get it up on YouTube so people to listen to it. So you can go back and listen to what Mickey and George have been saying all year long.
Well, what's kind of cool too, if there are players that know about that, they could go back if they have, or something that happened that they want to relive it, they can turn that on and see it, or to listen to YouTube. And that makes a big difference too. I think it's kind of cool. Not getting the announcement game, but when you can hear someone else describing what it is for them, it kind of brings it all back. And this game that and John are going to go to, the La Jolla High School, that's where we went for our last game last year in the quarter against Bishops. And yeah, they're going to hate that. It's like, I don't know, 5 blocks from the ocean. It's a rough gig there.
Well, I know, and we feel for them, and they're getting on. Carol and John, they're getting on a little bit, but they'll make it. Well, they'll be there.
Yeah, they'll be there. And now that they're getting in that advanced stage, of course, I'm now. They want to take a jacket. That was the only game year that we were happy to have jackets, as it got kind of cold. Tonight at Fallbrook, or tomorrow night at Fallbrook, it'll be the same way with us. So yeah, we'll have jackets, no sweat. And
that's a nice facility too, and they treat you like royalty when you get in there, right, Mickey?
We've really been treated nice over the years. Speaking Center that we played down here last week, every time that we have gone to Valley Center to do, they have actually 2 press boxes on the home side, and they give one of us to us. We have the floor. Our coaches and camera people have floor, but it's all ours. And they just treat us like royalty up there. Appreciate that. All the schools that we go to in San Diego, we appreciate how we're treated there. We're looking forward to going to Fallbrook. Haven't done a game for one of the city a couple of times to see how they do. And although they have a 4 record, they're number 2 seeded, and 4 of their losses either to Division I or Division schools, and we're in Division III. So you can't just look at the record. You got to look who they played against, and they've even taken the number 1 in Division I. And so it's going to be a good contest, I think, for both teams.
Well, when the Tigers are firing on all cylinders, they're a frightening foe for anybody.
They can put the ball down the field. They really can. And the defense has been really stout this year as well. We have a kicker that kicks 11th field goal last week. He's had 2 games where he's kicked field goals in the game. And I think, in fact, I think it's valid to look at it, but I think it was in both of them. And he's kicked 4 field goals of 40 yards or further with a long of 48. So you've got a field goal kicker and also a punter. He does the punting, number 1 punter in the state of California in all schools, averaging almost 40 yards a punt. So exciting to see these young get out there and compete, get to know them a little bit and talk with them, and the excitement we're exuding on the field, we try through the press box and onto the internet.
Well, you do, and you make it real for us, and you keep us in touch with. You really make us feel like we're there, and it's a real skill. When people think about you're sitting 100 yards away from the field and you're identifying players and who's doing what and trying to be accurate in the, watching the football. I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
That's one of the things. Well, one of the things when George and I first started with, and I asked if he wanted to do it, he said, "Oh, I don't do that. I said, just think about you and I sitting at the top of the grandstand watching the game, and I'll just be describing it, and you'll talk about, find something there that you block or something that sprung it, but it's like a couple of guys watching a ball game at the top of the grandstand." And so we've tried to get over internet, and he keeps getting better and better. We went to high school together in Imperial, graduated in 1987, so we've known each other for a long, long time, and it's just a joy to do the games with and help him along with doing them and trying to point out things, out something, and it's been really neat, and I really enjoyed it doing those, and I wasn't sure whether I would do games after seminary, and when that opportunity was, and I asked George, so, let's go do it, let's go have some fun with it, and I think we have.
Well, and it comes across, and that's contagious. That's contagious to the audience, and I think that's why your audience loves you guys, and everybody in Imperial appreciates what you do, and I think the whole valley should be proud of you. And Mickey, I promise you, KXO Radio is.
Oh, well, appreciate it very much. I feel privileged to be able to do the games with KXO, and kind of brings me back to career, and then all the things that have come since then, and then it's all swung back in one circle, and I'm back on Friday nights and representing KXO.
Well, why don't you tell everybody, invite everybody to the game tomorrow night, and we'll get this up this afternoon, and that'll be our final words. So take it away, Mickey.
Yeah. Sounds good. We'll be on the air at 6:45 with our pregame tomorrow night. We always try to tell you a little bit about what to expect from the opposing team and what is happening. We do that in the pregame, and also set up what other games are going on in the Valley. That check the scores out for us and text them to us, and we use them during the game. While you're listening to us, you can still keep up with what Central's doing, because we'll have those up scores as well. And so we'll be on at 6:45. They'll be kicking off at 7 o'clock. We'll be in Fallbrook against the Warriors, number 2 versus number 7. Winner goes on to the semifinals, steps away from a championship, and we look forward to the game tomorrow night.
Well, my last words would be, I invite everybody, follow the Tigers to Fallbrook. You can watch the game live, come back and listen to the replay.
There you go. That's it. And then replay in the morning. It'll be great.
All right. I want to thank everybody for joining the KXO Radio Sports Department Special Edition with Mickey Dale.